Lynn Grow, and I am with LawToolBox, and I am here to talk to you today about Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Teams and how law firms and legal departments are using Office 365 as a matter management system. And we have a guest here today who's joining us, and looks like he's just joined. Hi, Mike.
Hello. Hey, how are you?
Good. So I have Mike Ammerlaan here with us. He is the director of Microsoft 365 Ecosystem Marketing, and he's here to talk to us a little bit about, with Teams exploding right now, the use of Teams and everybody trying to figure out how to work remotely and stay connected and get work done. We invited him here today to talk about two things. So our audience is corporate legal departments and law firms, and we're hoping you can talk to us about sort of two primary topics. If you could touch a little bit on security. Lawyers are always worried about security when it comes to chat and cloud and having discussions, whether it's video or chatting. And then if you could show us a little bit about some of the best practices surrounding using Microsoft Teams to work remotely. That would be awesome.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you, Carolyn, for introducing me and having me on the call. I work on a number of different products across Microsoft 365, which includes a lot of Office products, things like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, SharePoint, and of course Microsoft Teams. And in a world where there's a lot more remote work, I think a lot of people are exploring Teams and sort of wondering how to get the most out of it, how to really, support those kinds of, remote work scenarios that, a lot of different disciplines, a lot of different, jobs have a requirement for. But just to start with Microsoft Teams, it's about 3 years old. We just celebrated our 3-year birthday since we first introduced Teams. It's one of the fastest growing applications, in Microsoft productivity application history. A lot more workers are coming in, whether it's, doing chat or meetings, or actually taking advantage of, the deeper capabilities for, hosting your entire team through Microsoft Teams. There's definitely a facet of Microsoft Teams that's really, appeals to a lot of folks and is getting more people on board. Now, Microsoft Teams is built on top of, Office 365 and our cloud infrastructure. And we've been working on that cloud infrastructure for a long time, and of course been building it with an eye towards security and compliance. So for example, it has a number of different capabilities, including encryption in transit at rest, and things like secure guest access, the ability for to enforce conditional access security policies, so you can actually create risk profiles for different types of sign-ins and those kinds of things, and regulate policies based on those. We have we support over 90 different sort of regulatory and industry standards. So supporting things like HIPAA and GDPR, FedRAMP, SOC, things like ISO 27001 across a number of different products. These are industry standards for things like, privacy, for example, or for, ensuring that, as the cloud infrastructure is maintained, the right types of, checks and balances in place. But all this to really say that, because Teams is built on top of Office 365, for example, a lot of the file capabilities are, based on SharePoint, fundamentally that are, in the Teams product, because of all those different sort of lineages that sort of lead up to Microsoft Teams, I think we've got, that kind of industrial strength, enterprise grade, security and privacy really built in. Of course, other things like, we're not selling your data for, advertising and those kinds of things as well, trying to maintain some safeguards and those kinds of, things as well. So, all that taken together really sort of supports, Microsoft Teams as, really a great choice from a security and privacy and sort of compliance perspective, because it builds on top of those infrastructure and features.
Right. So some of the biggest companies in the world are using Microsoft Teams to handle some very important work. So if you're a mid-sized company or a smaller organization, you're really leveraging the same might and power of Microsoft security that these big organizations are using.
Yeah, absolutely. I think something over 90% of the Fortune 500 is using some facet of Microsoft Teams, I believe. I have to double check that stat. But a lot of enterprise companies have some facet of Microsoft 365 in there. And as a small business owner, as, medium-sized business owner, you benefit from all those different tools, that are industrial strength, if you will, enterprise grade across the board in terms of Microsoft Teams.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we'd love to see some things if you're ready to share your screen and share your wisdom here.
Yeah, great. Let me go do that. Let me go open up Microsoft Teams. There we go. See, it's notifying me that the recording's already started. And so let me just go take you on a very brief tour of Microsoft Teams. And the first thing I want to show you is, on the left-hand side of Microsoft Teams here, you see a standard set of icons for different types of applications and workloads that are in Microsoft Teams. And by default, of course, you'll see things like chat and a list of activities, and you'll see calendars and Teams. These are kind of the centerpieces of what Microsoft Teams does. But the key thing about this is Microsoft Teams is super customizable. So if I, for example, want to see all of the tasks that I'm tracking across the set of teams that I have, we have this application called Planner. It's a separate application in Microsoft 365, but it has some really great integrations with Microsoft Teams. And so in this case, I can see all the different tasks that I have across all the teams that I'm working on. So, this whole view is eminently customizable. As an administrator, you can actually customize it by audience. So for example, if everyone on the legal team is using Adobe Sign for managing contracts, they can come here, they can go click on Adobe Sign, and from this one dashboard integrated into Microsoft Teams, they can see the set of agreements that they have an e-signature status on. So the idea behind Microsoft Teams is that, one, it's super customizable, and two, there's a number of application integrations that are integrated into Microsoft Teams that can really help pull everything together for a team so that they don't have to go searching for information. Of course, Punchline LawToolBox is another great integration that works with Microsoft Teams that we'll get to in just a second. But just to get started, of course, the hallmark of Teams is that you create these teams that you can see here. So in my case, I've got a number of different teams, sales and marketing, repair. You can do things like create, a team for every store, maybe create a team for every different matter that you are working through. And again, LawToolBox can help with that. But in this case, once I've got the team set up, I can start chatting, hello, everyone, like so. Like this, of course you can, format it richly. You can include, emojis and animated GIFs and those kinds of things inside of your chat. But a really cool thing that I like is that you can really extend, chat even further. So in this case, I can insert Wikipedia, straight inside of the middle of my chat and say, looks great, like this. And, when I do this, what the viewers of this chat get is, sort of a link to the Wikipedia article. They get a bit of metadata, and you can click through this and it takes you to Wikipedia. But you can imagine that if you can embed other bits of content, for example, tasks, we have integrations with things like Adobe Creative Cloud, Adobe Sign has a bot. There's a number of different ways that you can actually sort of extend chats and conversations. But just it kind of goes to show you that, chat works really well and it's super simple, but you can actually, weave in sort of structured content to make everyone's job easier to go find the content that they're looking for. It does integrate with files. So in this case, you can see a set of files that I've uploaded here. These are stored behind the scenes inside of SharePoint, or you can add other cloud storage providers as well. But in this case, if I want to go look at some acquisition documents over here, I think I was going to move them over. They're still over here. I can go move them into that folder to go clear it up. Yeah, this just shows you that it's got kind of the same content capabilities that SharePoint has in some regards, and so things like workflows, things like document management capabilities, you can also manage from within Teams in an integrated place. Now, of course, there's other applications that you can integrate with Teams. So one of the ones I mentioned earlier, Planner is a very handy one. So in this case, I'm going to go click on the FY21 plan. This is simple task management. So if I wanted to go, maybe arrange some community affairs activities, I can very simply say, schedule family picnic or something like this. Sounds nice. I can go create that task. I can go put it into a different bucket. So this is just a very simple and easy tool you can bring into Microsoft Teams to help everyone get started in their planning. Another common one, there's actual different whiteboarding applications. So Microsoft has a whiteboarding application. This is one called freehand from Envision. It's focused on prototyping and design tools and the like, but they've got a really handy, whiteboard as well. So if you wanted to have a shared whiteboard that everyone on your team, could go look at in a world of remote work to replicate that brainstorming experience, this plan looks brilliant, like so. If you want to kind of replicate some of those things that you might be used to in the office, bringing in things like a whiteboard, in this case, again, freehand by Envision, is another great capability. Here, of course, you can also bring in Adobe Sign, which I showed you earlier, for managing it, managing the specific contracts that might be relevant to this team, and then of course other applications like LawToolBox. Carolyn, did you want to maybe take a brief demo of LawToolBox and how it integrates?
Sure, I'd love to do that. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen. And here we are. And I think that I will go ahead and get started here. So LawToolBox is a matter management system that lives inside of Office 365. And we started in Outlook, where you can go grab our product and just add it to your Office account. And that gives you the ability to manage matters. We call them Office 365 matters, right from Outlook. 3 years ago, when Microsoft Teams was launched, we launched a version of our product that lives inside of Office 365. So I'm going to pop over to Teams now. In the email we were looking at a moment ago was talking about a case that was recently set for trial. So here I am in my Teams experience, and I'll start by just showing you the matter management component within a tab. We also have a lot of very deep search with advanced search that happens within the bot experience as well. But we'll just start with kind of a brief overview of what matter management looks like. So we're going to call this Acme versus Jones Construction, Inc. And when I click, I'm going to create a matter. I can create it in Outlook or in Teams. And when I do that, we've incorporated as part of the matter management system, calendaring, extending Teams to create a calendar for every matter to drive those rule-driven deadlines or to drive deadlines that are coming off of whatever type of case you have where there aren't rules. So in this case, we're going to choose an actual rule set, and we have a list of them here, but I'm going to go ahead and choose LA County Superior Court. And when I click Create, I just created an Office 365 matter, a LawToolBox matter that allows you to add users. And when you do that, you're basically adding them to an Office 365 group. So by default, you get a central user. I am Alexandra in this case, so the case is shared to me. I'm on the construction defect team, so I'll add that particular organization, and I've added James Stern. So and I have my people involved in my case, and I have just created a matter with all of the different kinds of things I can do with matter management. So the calendaring part is really just the ability to enter a date that triggers a bunch of deadlines. You can have custom deadlines based on regulatory, based on your own internal use, or based on the rules of civil procedure. So a good example is choosing a trial date, for example, and we'll just say that our trial is set for August 24th, and the system has just immediately generated 72 deadlines based on the rules of procedure, incorporating hashtags so that you can then take the concept of a matter management system that extends all the amazing stuff that you just saw Mike show you with document management. You can check in and out documents. You're doing it all in the secure platform. But now you've layered in there the calendaring component based on rules-based calendaring. And then you've got all this reporting with hashtags on different types of matters and, summary judgment motions, anything that you need with a bunch of different information. So just by a single click to add selected items to the calendar, I'm going to see 72 deadlines. If I have a case set for trial in LA County, automatically updating everybody's individual Outlook calendar that you've identified and that central matter calendar. So just real briefly, one other component, there's a lot that we could talk about, but another way that we extend what you get from Microsoft Teams is everything to do with managing reporting. So you have reports for a case, so we're looking at a deadline chart, and you can also just jump right here and you can pull a report across any user, any organization, just by selecting reports and going and pulling that report across all those cases. And anything you pull from within Teams, you can also pull that same type of a report right up here in Reports within Outlook. And so we'll go ahead and choose James Stern, for example, and we can choose a time frame, and you can pull reports across users, across organizations, and across a firm. So that's a little bit about how we transform Teams and Outlook into a matter management system. Just to give you a quick understanding of how you can use Teams to manage your actual law practice if you start working remotely. Just super high level, some example teams that we've set up. The idea is if you want to start working remotely tomorrow and your organization hasn't started using Teams, you can just go open it from your online office account and create 2 teams. So if you're a law firm, we recommend creating a team for the law firm to track conversations and chat and documents related to topics like this. And then you can create a team with topics along these lines with the matter management, like you saw Mike show you. And here is some examples designed specifically for a law firm with your e-filing system, your research, your time and billing, and then of course your matter management within here under LawToolBox. And I'll just wrap up very briefly saying team meetings in Microsoft Office, within Microsoft Teams, is an amazing way to start your day when you have a bunch of people in different offices, inviting everybody to go show their screen like you see Mike and I do. So just to wrap up real quickly, if you're a law firm or a legal department and your organization is trying to figure out how to keep people together using Microsoft Teams, if you go to lawtoolbox.com and then click on this COVID button, we are constantly updating this page with information about how you can start using Teams tomorrow and not have to train all your users. They can tune in. We do 3 webinars every single day, one at 10 on how to work from home tomorrow, creating your first team and your channels. And then every day at 11 a.m. Central, we have something for your IT folks to learn how to configure Teams for your organization and then potentially start using matter management, as well as a deep dive into everything with document management within Teams and so on, managing contacts in Outlook, which we didn't talk about. And I'm going to hand it back over to you, Mike, to cover anything you might like to, and I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly we're all in a world of, remote work, and more people are sort of now signing in remotely from their home office, from their playroom, as it were, as I'm doing. But, I think it's definitely a thing where, we're all kind of in a phase 2 of sort of adapting our practices, how our teams come together and those kinds of things. So, even small things like, for example, when you're having a chat with 20 or 30 people, keeping the chat window open so that people can see, and they can sort of type in when they've got a question. Or, setting up time for your team to meet, not to talk about a work item, but just to kind of meet up and, have a virtual hallway, water cooler talk. That's what we do on our team. We have those every couple of days just to kind of catch up and talk about, things that are not directly work related. Those kinds of practices, are going to be the kinds of things you're going to want to see about, what's the right way and the right temperature for your team to go, have them through remote work. So, keep experimenting, and, with a number of applications, the number of different ways that you can communicate through something like Teams, it's kind of a really interesting platform to, experiment and see what works best for your team, not just on, dealing with matters, as Lynn showed you, of course, very important, but also sort of, in the everyday, the team culture, those kinds of things as well. So, keep an eye open, keep experimenting, and we're sort of always looking to also improve the product to support remote work as well, too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And definitely appreciate the importance of staying connected and having those water cooler conversations and just, keeping that feeling of people being together and doing it virtually with webcams. And so thank you very much, Mike, and I appreciate your time. And
Yeah, thank you.
We'll catch up later.
Yeah, thanks very much.
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye.